So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my first official sort of podcast thing. I need a name for it, don't I? The Gopher news, not really the news, not the Gopher gaming news. We'll have to come up with something. We'll have to come up with something just for the title when I upload the video to YouTube. So Gopher rants. No, it's not going to be ranting. It's going to be very informative. Right, we're starting. I'm going to keep this to 1 hour. Let's see if I can do that. So the first episode, I was kind of hoping we'd be having a wide range of subjects, only as soon as I announced this, I got a lot of messages going, oh my god, you're going to be talking about the new subscription model in Fallout 76. And I'm like, what? So obviously I had to run off and find out what on earth that was all about. So that is obviously going to be the first subject today. However, I'm a teeny bit nervous about this subject because I think I'm going to annoy everybody. Everybody on all sides is probably going to be annoyed with me when it comes to my opinion here. Because unfortunately, I have a nuanced opinion on this particular subject, which means everyone is going to hate me. Because I have found from experience that when there are two sides to an issue, and by that I mean when people think there are two sides to an issue, if you don't pick one of those sides, they end up hating you more than the people who happen to be on the other side. So, here goes. Before I delve into this, I do want to point out, just so that you understand where I'm coming from, okay? I do want to point out that I'm old. I am half a century old, and I have been gaming a long time. My gaming goes back pretty much to Pong. And more importantly, for the subject at hand, my experience with live services pretty much goes back to the start of live services. So, you know, I've been there for the entire history of live services. I actually was playing text-based multi-user dungeons, MUDs as we used to call them. So, the thing is, back when live service type games, MMORPGs and that sort of thing became popular, pretty much the only model, the only financial model, or at least the one that was predominant, was the subscription model. I was actually caught out by surprise when I started to play The Elder Scrolls Online, when I briefly tried it out, and saw the backlash against the subscription. Everyone was going mental. You can't have a subscription. And I was like, wait, well, how else would you do this? Because I was honestly staggered, because I just assumed that was going to be the case. And, you know, apparently the world had moved on, and now the standard model for this sort of thing was microtransactions. So that's where I'm coming from, okay? I'm coming from a position of really honestly being kind of used to the idea of subscriptions. In fact, I'll go one step further than that and say something I've said on this channel, streams and on videos before. I actually prefer the subscription model to the microtransaction model. I think the subscription model for live services is a healthier business model. Now, I'm describing it as a healthier business model rather than better, because that is, of course, subjective. I do realise that there are a lot of people who think the microtransaction system is better because it means they can play for free. Although, in the case of Fallout 76, you couldn't play for free. You had to buy the game anyway. But, you don't have to keep paying a recurring fee. And for them, this means it's cheaper and they can't afford a subscription. And I totally get that. I mean, if you are in such a situation, the subscription model is a disaster for you. Got it. Totally got it. What I mean by it's healthier for the game is that the subscription model for revenue tends to give the developers an incentive structure that is more in line with the player's needs, the player's wants. What is it the player wants from a game? They want an engaging, rewarding, fulfilling experience, yeah? That's what they want. They want to have fun, although I'm reluctant to use that as the term here, because sometimes games are not fun for every single moment. Sometimes games can be frustrating and then rewarding when you finally beat them. But overall, the structure that you're looking for is a game that gives you some sort of engaging, fulfilling, rewarding experience. Obviously, the developer's aim is to get income from you, that revenue. They want money. But in a subscription model, the best way to get money from a player is to provide the player whatever it is that will keep them playing month after month after month, which is an engaging, fulfilling, rewarding experience. It puts the developer's general aims in line with the player's needs. Now, it's not as simple as that. There's a lot of other things going on. So I'm not going to say that that's it, simple as. But what I am saying is if you then compare that to microtransactions, the incentives for the developers are suddenly changed. Now, in a microtransaction system live service, the developer still has the incentive to make an engaging, fulfilling, rewarding experience for the player, otherwise the player would not hang around. But they also earn their revenue from microtransactions and thus have an incentive to get you to purchase microtransactions. And pretty much the only reason you would engage with a microtransaction is if there is something missing from your game that the microtransaction will provide, or if there is something in your game that you do not want and the microtransaction will remove. Essentially, the developer now has an incentive to make the game a little less engaging, or, well, not engaging, a little less fulfilling and a little less rewarding. He or she has the incentive to make the game less rewarding, less fulfilling, and to then sell you whatever it is that is required to get that feeling of fulfillment and reward. And that is in direct opposition of the other incentive. And that's why I think microtransaction live services are essentially unhealthy. Now, I am not saying all live services with microtransactions therefore suck, because some of them don't. Some of them manage to get... Thank you for the resub, Spotted Conzo. Some of them manage to get the balance to the point where the game is still good. And I'm not saying all games with a subscription model are therefore good, because some of them completely fail. What I'm saying is one of those business models just tends to promote a healthier developer-player relationship, so to speak, right? So you can probably see where I'm going with this and why I'm a little torn on this. Because Fallout 76 now has a subscription model. So I should be overjoyed, right? That's it. It's got the model I prefer. Yay. Well, now to annoy the other side of the equation. No, I'm not overjoyed. Because this subscription model has been added to a game that still has the bloody microtransaction model. So adding this new business model has not removed the other one, and thus the incentive to foobar up the game a little bit to encourage the microtransactions is still there. It's not gone. So it's not really fixed the problem by itself. Although it has now enabled Bethesda to earn revenue from people who will not be purchasing microtransactions. And that is important. I will come back to that because that is actually important. Actually, I might as well cover that now. You see, to my mind, the only way the subscription business model would work for me is if it removed the pressure or the effects that microtransactions have inevitably on the game. So, for example, if they add something to the game and then provide a microtransaction to fix the problem that causes, I would only think the subscription model works if that is not the case in the subscription model. So I've paid for a subscription, so they add something that makes it grindy for other players, but it doesn't make it grindy for me, right? But of course, we know that is probably not going to happen and would possibly be impossible. I mean, you can't have two different games on the fly. So, the only way it would work is if the game was moddable. If Fallout 76 was moddable, and by that I do mean fairly moddable, along the lines of Fallout 4 sort of moddable, where let's just say they suddenly added, let's take the fridges, right? They've added fridges, microtransaction fridges, to fix a problem some people are having storing the food. A mod could do the same. If they're allowing mods like that, and pretty much any mod can get made, then of course this allows us to more or less ignore microtransactions. If that's the case, if you can mod the game on a subscription account, this actually has potential. So that's the $1 million question. And the answer is, well, I don't think so. So let's dive into the details, shall we? I wonder, how do I... Okay, that's full screen. I'm going to be looking at the official... This is the official announcement. I think it came out yesterday. I think it came out yesterday. So, I can't remember how much it's going to cost. Isn't it about $13 or $14? It's $100 for a year, but I want to look at this from the most expensive option and also the option whereby you can just remove it at will. It's $13 American. Okay, so it's $13 a month. And for that $13 a month, you get Private World, scrap boxes, and more. And they give you this list. Private Worlds, scrap box, Survival Tent, Atoms, Ranger Armor, Icons, and Emotes. Now, the one of interest is going to be Private Worlds. So let's just cover the other ones first, right? For your $13 a month, you're going to get 1,650 monthly atoms, right? Isn't that about $16 worth of atoms? I mean, this is interesting because this to me seems to look like if you are somebody who spends about, I don't know, $12 or $13 a month on atoms anyway. If you just buy an outfit every month, this might actually be a better way of doing it. You just get this and you'll get the atoms anyway. So, this could work in your favour. However, if you're someone like me who really is just, I'm not spending any money, this doesn't save me anything. But, hey, it maybe allows me to buy an outfit from the Atom Store. Maybe one that's not available on the mods or no one's modded it yet. So, you know what? Okay, I'm going to put this down as okay, that's kind of nice, but not really anything I'm going to judge this by. Scrapbox. As a member of Fallout First, you gain access to your own private scrap box. Use the scrap box to store all your crafting components so they aren't taking up space in your stash box. The scrap box has unlimited storage, so no need to worry about picking and choosing when it comes to hoarding scrap. I'm guessing this is a nice addition. I'm guessing this is something that people... Now, I've not played the game very much. I could not get into it. I'm guessing that's not the worst thing ever to have. So you've got this nice little ability to have unlimited storage, right? All right. Survival tent. Drop the new survival tent to quickly set up forward operating base when you're roughing it out in the wilderness during your next adventure. The survival tent comes with complete with a stash, sleeping bag, scrap box, cooking station, and even an instrument to help you wind down after a day of exploring Appalachia. Once placed, it will also act as a second fast travel point in addition to your main camp, giving you even more freedom to travel anywhere in the map without spending caps. Okay, so you can fast travel to 2 different places without spending caps. I'm going to put this down as probably a nice to have. This is probably a nice to have, right? Ranger armor outfit. Okay, it's a cosmetic outfit. I mean, yay, I guess. Icons and emotes. I know it's free. Well, not free. I know it's part of this pack, but just not. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So basically, for these things here, it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of nice. I would see not a single thing here as being particularly impressive, apart from maybe the atoms. If you are somebody who's spending atoms regularly, if you are buying atoms regularly, then okay, fair enough. Maybe this is actually worth buying. For someone like me, this is that's kind of nice. The scrap box and the survival tent, kind of nice, I suppose. The scrap box probably is the only one that, on this entire list below Private Worlds that I would say, okay, worth thinking about. I have to say, looking at this list, the only thing that's going to matter is Private Worlds. For me, it comes down to, will the Private Worlds allow me to play Fallout 76 in a way that basically ignores microtransactions? So let's read it. Private Worlds. The community has been asking for the ability to play in Private Worlds since before the launch of Fallout 76, and we're very excited to announce that they're coming to the game with Fallout First. If you're a Fallout First member, how you use your Private World is completely up to you. You'll notice they're calling it Private World, not Private Server, right? That is important. Invite up to 7 of your friends at a time, 8 total per private world if you are bad at maths and don't know what 1 plus 7 is, to join you in taking on the dangers of post-apocalyptic West Virginia, or play completely solo. All gameplay remains the same from adventure mode, and all characters entering the Fallout First private worlds must be existing characters. That sure looks like it is not a server to me. I don't see how this could be possible. And no, I tell you what, let me not finish that thought yet. I probably need to lead up to that thought. Only the owner of a private world is required to be a Fallout First member. Right. Head into your private world, open your social menu once you're in game, start inviting your friends to kick off the party. You can create a squad outside of your private world and then switch to it to bring everyone along at once. Should the owner of the private world leave, the world will stay active as long as one other player in the world is a Fallout First member. It's not a server. It's not a server. It's essentially you are paying for the option to restrict who joins you. That's all it is. It's something that should have been part of the base game to start with for free, in my opinion. This does not add a server, because the server would stay up and people could join your server. I could perhaps, maybe it only lets you have 8 at a time on your server, but then people who were whitelisted for your server would be able to join that server, and, you know, maybe you could restrict it so that only 7 people could join, and then there's always a slot for you, and you join it. It would be a server, and people could join it, and people could play. This is not a server. It is the ability to set up private sessions. Nothing more, nothing less. It is an instance, if you want to call it that. That's what it is. It's an instance, and it lasts as long as there's someone who is a Fallout First member. And this instance, this session, is not going to be moddable. It is not going to be moddable, which makes it pretty much useless to me. It's utterly useless. And I sort of knew this as soon as I was getting here. When it says, all characters entering the Fallout First private worlds must be existing characters. Why? Because if it was a private server, you'd be starting a new character on that server, and you would never be able to take that character off the server. That's how it normally works on these things, and this would absolutely have to be the case if you were modding this server. Because here's the thing, you could sort of say, oh well, no, maybe they would allow you to have a server with mods on it, and when you joined it, you could have modded stuff, so maybe you'd find modded items, but when you left the server, you wouldn't have access to those items, and until you went back to the modded server. Well, first of all, I'd have to say I honestly think that would be a disaster, because there would be so much. I could just see so much glitching and crashing and corruption, and just trying to have a save that's got items that require mods, and then you go to a non-modded server, and it has to sort of. I see so much failure going on there, like beyond failure. We've seen how it is if you take mods out of your load order, and you know the problems that could occur. So straight away that would just be like, oh my god. But even if they managed to get past that, they couldn't do it anyway. For 2 reasons. One, it would completely destroy their at-a-market economy. And it would. Because, let's face it, let's go for something like the repair kits. You buy a repair kit to repair your armour. Well, you'll never do that ever again, because all you'll do is you'll join someone's private server. You'll have a friend who's got a private server, and he'll have a mod on there that just gives a free repair kit dispenser or something, and you'll go there, repair all your stuff, and maybe there'll be an ammo dispenser, and you just press it and it gives you tons and tons of ammo. This is vanilla ammo, and you get it, and now you have full ammo and all your armor's repaired. So they'd have to track anything that was vanilla given to you in one of these servers and not let you have that in the modded thing. And they'd have to track what your, they'd have to track they couldn't. I don't think they could do it. It would essentially allow people to bypass the need to buy microtransactions, even people who weren't the first members. But it would also completely destroy the player base, because people would just be whining and complaining. They just would. Oh, these guys are just all pimped out because they went to a modded server and now they've got a gazillion nukes. Right? It would just... So it can't happen. So it's just, so basically, what I'm saying is, just reading this, if I'm reading it correctly, these private worlds are just sessions that allow you to restrict who's coming in. It doesn't even look like you can change many settings, and there's no persistence to it. The characters are still the characters for the public server. There is no way in hell this is going to be moddable. Just none. Zero. So, it's crap. To me. Again, if you are somebody who spends a certain amount of money every month on atoms, this might be worth getting because then you can restrict the worlds. And you do get this scrap box and the survival tent, which might be nice. So if you are somebody who's playing Fallout 76 and is honestly having a good time and spends just a little money each month, maybe you like the game and you spend $10 each month as a way to show appreciation for the company. Because, you know, that's the sort of mentality you go with something like Warframe. You play it for free and you sometimes buy Platinum, or maybe you buy Prime Access one particular time. That is definitely the way to do it, by the way. If you're thinking of playing Warframe, just go with the Prime Access one time. Best value, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to actually check the numbers. If you're that sort of person, you want to show some love back to Bethesda, this is a reasonable way of doing it, I guess. Instead of spending $12 a month on an outfit, spend it on the Fallout first, and you get the option now to restrict the worlds. The only other people that will get any benefit out of this whatsoever, and there might be a few of them, are people who want to play Fallout 76 but can't stand public players. They want to play it by themselves or with friends. So this would be beneficial. For $13 a month? F that. I mean, seriously, F that. I mean, Prime Access is overbloated with boosters that boost up the price what you actually get. Prime Vault's the good ones. Maybe, whatever I got. Dude, my point is, you know, Warframe is the sort of game where you can play for free and sometimes you give money to them partly because you want something, but I think usually because you just think, you know what, they deserve a bit of my money. Maybe there are people out there who've bought Fallout 76 for $60, they're playing it to death, they're still playing it a year later, they're playing like 50 hours, 60 hours a month, and they're thinking, you know what, I got enough hours of play within the first 3 months to more than justify the original $60, so now I'm going to spend a few dollars a month on outfits and things just to support them. If you are such a person, maybe actually switching to this subscription model is a good idea, right? That would be essentially it. But that does not describe me, and I suspect it does not describe an awful lot of other people. I would be wanting to have a subscription if it allowed me to, as I said, ignore the pressure of the microtransactions. Basically, if it let me mod the game. I would be looking for private servers. This is not it. Now, I don't know. They should have at least released the NPCs first. Right. Actually, to be honest with you, yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, this is. I mean, for me to go and try Fallout 76 again, I would need the subscription model sort of thing. I would need it to allow me private servers or private worlds, but it would allow me to mod the game so that I could remove any problems I saw that I felt were caused by greedy monetization. And it would also require that I have some incentive to play the game, which I think would require something like the Wastelanders DLC, because that looks a little more interesting. Maybe if they had NPCs with quests, I would have thought to myself, you know what? Let's head back in, maybe grab a few people, a couple of people I enjoy playing with, maybe do a live stream of it and just, you know, the same way as I play The Forest with Che, just get a few people and play Fallout 76 and have some fun. Maybe, you know, if it's got some new quests on these NPCs, we could give it a try. But even if they do get the Wastelanders DLC, all I can say at the moment is it's still going to be an experience that is riddled with microtransaction pressure. I'm going to start calling it that, microtransaction pressure. And when I say that, what I mean is the pressure put on the developers to make the game a little unfulfilling or unrewarding or frustrating so as to pressurize you into buying microtransactions. So essentially, this subscription does not alleviate the microtransaction pressure. So there you go. So there's my opinion. As I said, nuanced. I'm not actually offended. I'm not actually offended by the subscription model. The idea of paying monthly. I'm singularly unimpressed with what that subscription brings. Because the private worlds looks like something that should have been free. I mean, that should be an option. Am I wrong here? Am I wrong? That should be an option that's part of the base game. The option to play by yourself or play with friends. Just you don't want to deal with other people. I know some games are designed to have other people in mind, but if this was a game that was like an MMORPG where you had 1,000 people on a server, I would say, all right, no, you're expecting too much to be able to solo it. But this game, I don't know. Or at least, I don't know, maybe I'm asking too much. I don't know, maybe I'm asking too much for that. But I don't feel like this private worlds it warrants a $13 a month subscription. And as I said, everything else on this list is one of those things of, oh, that's kind of nice. This would be icing on a cake if there was a cake. There is no cake. The cake is a lie in this particular case. Even though the cake was not a lie in Portal. There was cake. Yes, there was. Anyone who thinks there was not cake did not watch the end credits long enough. There was cake. On Fallout 76, there's no cake. I think I've hammered that metaphor far enough. Just probably. Yeah? Okay. So that is the Fallout 76 news. That was supposed to be the gaming news. Keep hammering the metaphor. All right. So yeah, the only other news this week really has probably been Blizzard. And to be honest, I don't think I'm going to touch that one with a barge pole. Just any of it. I mean, they've pretty much gone on like and offended everyone. And I mean, that's just such a disaster. That is such a disaster. Blizzard political fiasco. Here's the thing. I appreciate Blizzard's desire to remain apolitical when it comes to their particular channel, because I'm the same. And it's not because I'm apolitical, and it's not because I don't think politics is important. It's just that I think sometimes we need, I'm not going to use the word safe spaces because that triggers a lot of people. We do need what I would consider neutral zones on occasion where you can go and just do something else. Because, you know, people will say to you, yes, but this is a critically important thing. It's true. I mean, we are talking about human rights here. And, you know, that is so much more important than Blizzard. It's so much more important than Overwatch. And it's so much more important than even my channel. Even my channel. Right? It is. It is. But if I was to, say, allow let's say I was going to do videos, and instead of doing the videos I was doing, I would just talk about things that were more important than the videos I make. I'd never make any of the videos I make. I mean, let's face it, the number of things that are more important than my videos and my live streams is like, I don't know, however many things there are on the planet minus about 12, right? I mean, so there has to come a point where you say, yeah, all right, look, we're here to play games and have fun. So I totally get Blizzard's kind of thing of saying to these people, look, seriously, we just want this to be a place where everyone can come, no matter what their political view is, and, play games, play Diablo, play Overwatch, etc. I get it. Was it Hearthstone? I get it. I totally do get it. But every now and again, someone's going to come forward and break that rule. They just handled it wrong. They should probably have just took him to one side and say, look, we appreciate you. We even support you on this, but it's not the right time because we want to talk about Hearthstone, and if we get dragged into the human rights drama, that's all we'll ever talk about. The thing is the way they've tried to avoid getting dragged into the human rights drama has dragged them completely, 100%, head over heels, into the human rights drama. So, yeah. Barbara Streisand effect at its finest. That is actually true. Real Roy Batty, well, he used to respond to me. What? Are you sending me messages on... Is Roy sending me messages on Discord or something? Roy, are you sending me messages? They didn't try to avoid it, they took China's side. Well, yeah. At the risk of getting into the political thing here, they technically avoided it by their own rules. But seeing as the problem is sort of freedom of speech and the ability to protest, yeah, by doing that, they, by default, end up siding with whoever it is who wants to squash dissent and freedom of speech. So, yeah, it was one of those cases of you can't win. You can't win. Once someone gets over 100k subs, it's rare they respond. Dude, you make me sound like an elitist. No, it's just there's so many comments going past, and I stop looking at the comments when I'm responding to something. When I respond to a comment, I have to... Oh, you accidentally removed me. I need to add me back. Will do. Send me an invite, Roy. Send me an invite. I will definitely accept it on you. The problem is once I put my eyes back on the comments, I get distracted from whatever it was I was responding to last time, so it's a little difficult. So yeah, so anyway, the whole thing with Blizzard, because they ended up technically following their rules, which said no politics, and they banned him for that. The problem is that's precisely what the other side, in this case China, wants. So they were in a situation where they couldn't win it by leaning on their own rules. So they should have just come out and been on the right side. And the right side is, freedom of speech and human rights. But I also feel for them, I really do. Especially seeing as half their market is China, and if the Chinese government just say, that's it, Blizzard's banned in China, they're in a lot of trouble. But they should probably have just said, no, you know what? Yes, we've got a rule that says no politics, yada, 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 and he broke it, and we've sent him a stern request to please not do that again, because it just distracts from our thing. But no, we're not banning him. No, we're not banning him. He didn't say anything egregious, and then weather the storm from China, and probably earn a lot of respect and kudos from everybody else. But there you go. Yeah, if the punishment wasn't so harsh, so basically, I think they've just mishandled the entire situation. But at the same time, I do get it. I completely get it. I mean, just imagine if half of my patrons and subscribers were in China. I would probably have just lost half my revenue by saying, yes, we should side with freedom of speech and human rights. And that would be like, ah! For all I know, I just have. Maybe my channel just got like restricted in China and I was actually getting a fair number of views. I don't think so. But, you know, so I get it. I get it. Money versus morality. Yeah. And it's never, here's the problem with that, is it's never one or the other, is it? It's very, very hard to separate like the two and say, I'm going to be on the side of morality, because it's easy to say that until it's your livelihood on the line. Because it is. It's dead easy to say it when you're not the one facing the consequences. But at the same time, oh God, did they mess up? They fired the casters that had said and done nothing. Yeah, no, I mean the whole thing, the whole punishment, the whole way they handled it, totally and utterly disastrous. They shouldn't have fired anyone. They shouldn't have actually punished anyone. They should possibly have just said, maybe they should have said to the casters, you know, next time that happens, just move them along or something. But to be honest with you, even then, I'm not even totally sure. Here's the problem. Sometimes there are some things that are so important and so dramatic that even I, who doesn't want politics, has got to say, yeah, my heart goes out to, especially like the people in Hong Kong. My heart goes out to them at the moment. It's a nightmare for them. You know, they've been living under one system and one way of doing things for such a long time, and now they've got the threat of a completely alien way of life, way of being, and you know, I do feel for them. So, I mean, as you can tell, I'm with the people who are in Hong Kong and, you know, want to remain relatively free. I hate that word. I hate using that word, but yeah. Hong Kong deserves their independence. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to get into politics on this, but the whole situation with Hong Kong being a British, was it a colony or a British? There's a special word for it, whatever it was. And then going back once the rental period had run out. I think the whole thing was just, it's such a weird concept, isn't it? I think in today's age, that just sounds so bizarre. It really sounds so bizarre, especially since the deal was with a completely different China. So yeah. However, that pretty much is the rest of the news, isn't it? And now here's the thing. Here's why I feel for Blizzard on this. Half the comments under the video when I upload this are going to be about the China situation. And I can't even be angry about that, because this is important. It's an important topic. It's an important subject. And there are people out there who've got way more important things to worry about than whatever the hell we're going to talk about in gaming. So this is a discussion that's just so critically important. It is. It's just so very, very hard. It really is. You could solve that, Gopher, by mentioning Brexit. And on that note, because I definitely classify that as something that does not, that's not one of these things that I believe is so critical that it might overrule the no politics rule. And I'm going to move on. Thank you, Ministry of Paranoia. And somebody else? 2 times ghost times 2. Thank you. Yeah, I think some things really do warrant breaking the rules, and freedom, human rights, stuff like that, definitely, in my books, warrants breaking of the rules. Brexit, no. Not getting into that one. Not getting into that one. It's important, but it's definitely not worth derailing my entire channel for. Well, not for me, it's not. But then, I don't live in Britain anymore. Of course, the next bit of news probably is Outer Worlds is being released in a few hours, and everyone wants to know, am I going to play it? Absolutely. Definitely, definitely, definitely. I am planning on starting it as soon as possible. It probably won't appear on my channel next week, because I suspect I won't really be able to get much recording done tomorrow. I have at least one more episode of Skyrim to do before I feel like I can take a break. I'm not going to explain to you why, but you get the idea. Sometimes you get to a point in a game or a chapter or a story where, okay, I could leave it here, come back, and know exactly what I'm going to do. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I can get into it, and no problem. I'm almost there. I think I need at least one more episode recording, so maybe two. So tomorrow I'm going to try and get that done, and then start Outer Worlds, and then just play through Outer Worlds. It will appear on the channel. And most of the reviews are good, are they? I'm not even remotely surprised. I'm not remotely surprised. It's looking good. Oh, and yes, this, of course, does mean I am a horrible, horrible sellout. I have, in fact, bought a game on Epic. It's not the first. I bought Metro Exodus. So, my apologies. I don't mind Epic that much. Oh my God, there's a subject that's going to get me in trouble. Well, I'm not that keen on the whole exclusives thing, but the actual store itself, a lot of people have got problems with it. Like it doesn't have a shopping basket, which is definitely a weakness, definitely something that they need to add. But maybe it's just the way I buy games, because I don't buy them on bulk like that anyway. That are like, and here's the thing, I've only bought 2 games on them, and it was just like, oh, I'll have this, bye, thank you. So yeah. BGS shill and Epic sellout unsub. Yeah. People are still calling me a BGS shill, Even on the last video where I hammered at I guess we're moving out of latest gaming news now. We don't have time to do latest modding news or anything like that. So let's just do bits of channel ramble, and then leave it. So I hit the timer. Yeah, so the last video where I was criticizing the Fallout 76 microtransactions and the fact that they're no longer cosmetic only, or they've not been cosmetic only for a while, but now that Bethesda have just said, yeah, no, we're jumping in, full on. We've accepted it, cosmetic only, we were lying, there you go. Or we weren't lying, we've changed our mind, right? There were still people calling me a shill, a BGS shill, even though I am quite openly self-admitting to being a CD Projekt Red GOG shill. Those are the people I'm in a business relationship with, and yet it's just and have never said a bad word against. Even that's not true, actually. I did criticise The Witcher 3 for its key rebinds, didn't I? I did. I actually made a video criticising it. So even the people I actually shill for, I'm not doing an awfully good job. But yeah, so this one company that I've never said a bad word for, I openly admit to being a shill, and yet still people are absolutely convinced I'm on the payroll for Bethesda, a company I don't think I've said anything positive about. Well, that's not true. I don't think I've released a video celebrating Bethesda for anything they've done since about 2011. I've released videos celebrating things they've done since then, but the things I've celebrated were from 2011 and earlier. Resub Caddington T. Thank you for the resub. I mean, even Fallout 4, my review of that was, it's a solid game. It's a good game. It's just not the game I wanted. I mean, and I did a series where I did say, hey, these are all the things I love about Bethesda, and it was made from the point of view of pointing out that much of this was missing from Fallout 4. So even the series, why we love the Elder Scrolls Formula, I think I called it. Even that series, where I was complimenting all of the things that Bethesda had done pretty much up to 2011, was there as a backhanded slap against everything they've done since. So, yeah. Didn't I like Fallout Shelter? Oh, right, no, that's true. I liked Fallout Shelter. That was 2015. But I don't really talk about it, do I? I mean, it's not like I've made a video or gone on record and said, no, Bethesda should be really, really, proud of the Fallout Shelter. I'd say the nearest I've come to saying, no, I think Bethesda have done something good, probably in video form, was where I did say, I think the fact that they've turned Skyrim and Fallout 4 VR, well, Skyrim and Fallout 4 into VR games was actually really well done. I'm actually giving them major kudos for that. So that's the one thing. I think that's the one thing that I've been basically appreciating. But apart from that, normally whenever we discuss them, it's to discuss what they've been doing wrong. It is. And I hate that. I can't stand being such a negative Nelly. But, we've had a resub. Zaturda. Thank you very much. So yeah. But that's it. So I've really been pretty damned critical of them. That's the best way to describe it, politely critical. And yet there's still people. There was one person came along and he was like, but you're a shill for them. And I'm like, no. And he was like, you gushed about the Creation Club. And I'm like, what are you talking about, you silly person? I didn't write that. I was polite. I essentially asked him, well, what was it I said? When did I say it? Where did I say it? Please provide details. Knowing that he couldn't. They pay your salary. I wish. People who pay my salary are the patrons. I am a shill for GOG and for CD Projekt Red, but the amount of money I get from them is, well, it's not. It's, let's put it one way. I've earned probably more money from the average patron on my Patreon page. The average from one of them. Just any one, the average, whatever the average is, probably somewhere in the $2 to $3 mark. If they've been going for like 2 or 3 years, I've earned more from them than I've earned from GOG since I've been in partnership with them. That gives you an idea of how little I've made. Shilling for GOG. I'm a terrible shill though. I really don't shill well. I'm an awful shill. I shill for the patrons. They're the ones who pay my wages. They are. It's the patrons. And the subscribers on Twitch, you guys who sub on Twitch, people who make donations, people who make cheers, essentially, you're the ones who are keeping this going. Believe it or not, that outstrips what I get from YouTube advertising as well. So, there you go. According to my math, GOG made Gopher a billionaire. I wish. 5 up, wrap up warning. Thank you, Quadico. So yeah. Anyway, so this is, and I've seen multiple people actually say it. I've seen multiple people say it. Thank you very much, Radeshi. And they've said like, you loved the Creation Club. No, I didn't. I have been criticising the Creation Club since the day it was released. Technically, I was criticising it before it was released because, of course, I was criticising it when it was announced. Every video I've made about the Creation Club has either been a criticism or a technical discussion. And by that I mean I've been discussing some aspect of it just from a purely technical point of view. That's it. just got the news about the private service. Done that one. So there you go. Yeah. The podcast is going to be uploaded later, so I don't think you've said anything positive about CC. At most neutral. Yeah, no, precisely. I have absolutely nothing positive to say about the Creation Club. I try to choose my words carefully so that the people who make the content there, because some of them are mod makers, I've tried to say there's nothing wrong with the quality of the content. There's nothing wrong with the items that are on the Creation Club. I just don't believe they are worth the value that Bethesda are charging for it. Because, of course, it's not the people who make the content who are selling it. They did a job for Bethesda. They worked for Bethesda. They earned a wage. They earned a wage for services rendered, and then Bethesda own the product and sell it to the customer, us, for a price. And the price is just insanely overpriced. And it's competing with mods, which are free. And it's microtransactions. And I'm sorry, I don't think microtransactions belong. I don't mind microtransactions in any game. I've said this. I'm getting to the point where I'm actually thinking just even live service games, it's just not worth it anymore. But single player games, they don't belong in single player games. They really don't. We don't. Microtransactions should not be in Skyrim. They should not be in Fallout 4. The Creation Club should not exist, in my opinion. And the only thing that makes Skyrim and Fallout 4 playable for me, or shall we say, keeps me playing, is the fact that mods can pretty much repair the damage that the Creation Club does. Which is why I've said the same is true with Fallout 76. The only thing that I really want to see on this private worlds or private servers is the ability to use mods so that anything they do to try and pressurize me to make purchases on the microtransactions on the Atom Store can be neutralized. So that's it. I'm not 100% sure how anything I've just said, even though I've tried to say that the content is of perfectly good quality. There's nothing wrong with the quality of the content. The people who made the content did nothing wrong, right? Same way as I'll say the same about Fallout 76. The people who make the content that's on the Atom market, the developers, did nothing wrong. They are not doing anything wrong. They're doing a job for a company and they're earning a salary. It's the company that decided to sell us that stuff via microtransactions that I blame. If that's me shilling for Bethesda, wow, is the definition of shill a gazillion miles away from what I thought it was. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to bring this podcast to a close because it is now officially at the 1 hour mark. 1 hour has gone. We will be back next Thursday for more discussion of the latest news. Hopefully it will be more positive. Probably it won't. Maybe we'll talk about mods, if there's something to talk about. If not, we'll probably just ramble about idiotic stuff. If that sounds fun, feel free to join me. Thank you to everyone who joined me tonight. Thank you to all of the cheers, the resubs, the subs. Chasing the Echoes, thank you very much. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.